There are betrayals that don't announce themselves with shouting or slammed doors. They arrive quietly, wrapped in expectation and entitled smiles, slowly draining you until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the exhausted woman staring back. Before I tell you about the moment my mother-in-law's face went ghost white when she opened that envelope at my dining table, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you've ever felt invisible in your own home. My name is Sophia. I'm 34, and I've been married to Marcus for 6 years. We live in a quiet suburb outside Atlanta, one of those neighborhoods where everyone waves and nobody really knows each other. Marcus works in sales, pulling down a decent salary, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work from home, which in Marcus's family apparently translates to, she doesn't really work. It started innocently enough, the way these things always do. About 2 years ago, Marcus's mother Linda called him one Sunday afternoon. She'd just retired from teaching after 35 years and was finding the adjustment difficult. Empty nest syndrome hitting hard, she told him. She was lonely. She missed having family around. Mom wants to do Sunday dinners, Marcus said that evening, looking up from his phone with that hopeful expression that always made it hard for me to say no. You know, like when she raised us. Family tradition. I was working on a logo design for a tech startup, deadline looming, but I glanced up and smiled. That sounds nice. We could rotate houses maybe? One Sunday here, one at her place? Marcus's face did something subtle, a micro-expression I'd learned to read over 6 years of marriage. Well, she just moved into that senior apartment. Her kitchen is tiny. And you're such an amazing cook, Soph. You know Mom loves your fried chicken. That should have been my first warning sign, not a request, an assumption. I guess we could do it here, I said slowly. How often were you thinking? Every Sunday? He said it like a question, but his tone suggested the decision was already made. It would mean so much to her. And babe, you work from home. You have the time. There it was. That phrase that would echo in my head for the next 24 months. You work from home. You have the time. As if working from home meant I spent my days watching reality TV and eating bonbons. As if the 40-plus hours I spent each week designing brand identities, managing client communications, and meeting deadlines somehow didn't count as real work because I did it in yoga pants at my dining table. But I loved Marcus. And I wanted to be a good wife, a good daughter-in-law. So I said yes. The first Sunday dinner was actually lovely. I made pot roast with roasted vegetables, homemade rolls, and peach cobbler. Linda arrived at 4 o'clock sharp with Marcus's younger brother Devin and his girlfriend. The house smelled incredible. Everyone complimented the food. Linda hugged me and said, "My daughter could never cook like this." I felt warm inside. Appreciated. Like I was building something, contributing to family bonds. By dinner number 4, the compliments had faded into expectation. Linda would arrive, walk straight to the kitchen, lift pot lids to inspect what I'd made, sometimes with a little disappointed tisk if it wasn't her favorite dish. Marcus's brother started bringing friends. His girlfriend would show up empty-handed and leave her plate on the table for me to clear. By month 3, I was hosting 8 to 10 people every single Sunday. Marcus's cousins heard about the standing dinner invitation. Linda started asking if she could invite her church friends. It became less about family bonding and more about free catering. And I kept cooking. Every Saturday I'd meal plan, then spend 2 hours at Kroger filling a cart with groceries. Sundays I'd wake up at 9 to start prep work. If I was making fried chicken, I'd brine it overnight. Collard greens took hours to cook down properly. Cornbread had to be timed perfectly so it came out hot. Marcus would wake up around 11, pour himself coffee, and settle in front of whatever game was on TV. "Smells good, babe," he'd call out. Then he'd disappear until everyone arrived, at which point he'd play the gracious host, accepting compliments for the meal I'd spent all morning preparing. Linda started making requests. "Sophia, honey, could you make your mac and cheese next week? It's Devin's favorite." Not asking if I had time, not offering to contribute ingredients or help, just adding items to my unpaid catering menu. After every dinner, I'd spend another 2 hours cleaning. Marcus would help carry a few plates to the kitchen, then disappear to let the food settle, which meant napping on the couch. His family would hug me goodbye, tell me what a wonderful wife I was, and leave me with a sink full of dishes and Tupperware containers they'd filled with leftovers to take home. I started tracking my hours without really meaning to. Sunday dinners consumed my entire weekend. Saturday shopping and prep, 3 hours. Sunday cooking and setup, 5 hours. Serving and hosting, 2 hours. Cleanup, 2.5 hours. Every single week, I was giving 12.5 hours to Marcus's family tradition. And nobody ever asked if I minded, if I had work deadlines, if maybe I'd like to spend one Sunday afternoon doing something for myself. The breaking point came on a Wednesday evening in late April. I'd been working all day on a rebrand for a nonprofit client, one of those projects that pays less but means more. My eyes were burning from staring at the screen. I was trying to nail down a color palette when Marcus came home. He kissed the top of my head, then opened the fridge. "Babe, what's for dinner?" I'd forgotten to cook. Completely forgotten because I'd been working. "I thought maybe we could order something?" I suggested. "There's that Thai place you like." Marcus's face fell. "Order out? Soph, come on. That's expensive. Can't you just make something quick?" Something quick. Like I was a short-order cook and he was a customer. "I've been working all day," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "I have a deadline tomorrow." "You work from home," Marcus said, and I felt something inside me crack. "It's not like you have a commute or anything. You can take a break to cook." I stared at him. 6 years of marriage, and he genuinely believed my time had no value because I wasn't driving to an office. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sunday dinners, about grocery bills I paid from my income, about the hours and hours of my life I'd handed over without anyone acknowledging it as labor, as sacrifice, as anything other than what a good wife should do. At 2 a.m, I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I created a spreadsheet. I was good with numbers, had to be as a freelancer managing my own finances, and I started calculating. Average cost per Sunday dinner, groceries for 8 to 10 people, quality ingredients because Linda had opinions about store brand items, $185, times 52 weeks, $9,620 annually. But that wasn't all. There was the electricity for running the oven for 5 hours straight, the water for washing dishes, the gas for my Saturday shopping trips, the wear and tear on my kitchenware, my good serving dishes that were getting chipped from overuse. Add another $800 for utilities and equipment depreciation over the year. Then I calculated my time. As a freelance designer, I charge $30 per hour for my labor. That's what clients pay for my expertise, my creativity, my time. 12.5 hours every Sunday, 52 weeks a year. That's 650 hours annually. Times $30 per hour, $19,500 in unpaid labor. I stared at the spreadsheet until the numbers blurred. Over the past 2 years, I had contributed $40,000 in cash and labor to Marcus's family tradition, $40,000 nobody acknowledged, nobody thanked me for. Nobody offered to reimburse or even split. Marcus made $75,000 a year. I made roughly $45,000 as a freelancer. And I just discovered I'd been giving away nearly half my annual income to feed his family every single week. The next morning, Marcus found me still at the kitchen table, spreadsheet open on my laptop. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked, concerned. "I've been doing some calculations," I said calmly. "Come look at this." I walked him through the numbers. The grocery costs, the utilities, the hourly rate for my labor. I watched his face as the total emerged, $40,000 over 2 years. "That's insane," he said, but he was laughing, actually laughing. "Soph, you can't put a price tag on family, that's not how it works." "Why not?" I asked. "You put a price tag on my labor every day. You just decided that price was zero." His smile faded. "That's not fair." "What's not fair is that I've been subsidizing your family bonding for 2 years while you've contributed nothing except showing up to eat." "I help clean up," he protested. "You carry 3 plates to the sink and think you've done your share." "Marcus, I love you, but this isn't sustainable. I'm exhausted. I'm behind on client work. I can't keep doing this." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "So what do you want?" And I realized I'd been waiting for him to ask me that for 2 years. "I want us to split the cost," I said, "and the labor, or we rotate hosting with your mom, or we make Sunday dinners once a month instead of every week. But I can't keep being the only person giving while everyone else just takes." Marcus rubbed his face. "Mom's going to be devastated." Not, "You're right, I'm sorry." Not, "I should have been helping all along." Just concern about his mother's feelings. "Then maybe Mom can host," I suggested. "Her kitchen is tiny, I told you that." "Then maybe she can contribute to groceries. Or help cook. Or clean up afterward." "Marcus, there are solutions here, if anyone besides me was willing to make an effort." He looked at me like I'd suggested we cancel Christmas. "You want my mother to pay? For family dinner?" "I want my labor to be valued. I want someone to acknowledge that I've been working my ass off every single weekend for your family while you watch football." We went in circles for an hour. Marcus kept coming back to the same arguments. Family doesn't charge family. I was being selfish. His mother would be heartbroken. I worked from home. I had time. What was the big deal? Finally, I closed my laptop. "Here's what's going to happen," I said quietly. "I'm done hosting Sunday dinners for free. If you want them to continue, we split costs 50-50 and you do half the work. Cooking, shopping, cleaning, everything. Or we rotate with your mom's place. Or we go out to eat and everyone pays their own way. And if I say no?" I met his eyes. "Then Sunday dinners end. Immediately." Marcus stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. Maybe he was. Maybe for the first time in our marriage, he was seeing the version of me that refused to be taken for granted. "You're serious. Dead serious." He grabbed his keys. "I need to think." And he left for work without another word. I should have felt guilty. Should have felt like maybe I was overreacting, being too harsh, too calculating. But instead I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Relief. That evening, Marcus came home with flowers and an apology. Sort of. "You're right that it's a lot of work," he said carefully. "And I should help more. But babe, asking Mom to pay or making this about money, it's going to cause a huge fight. Can't we find a compromise?" "I gave you 3 compromises," I reminded him. "You rejected all of them. What if—" He hesitated. "What if we just do it twice a month instead of every week? That cuts your work in half. And the costs? The labor? I'll help more. I promise." I'd heard that promise before, but I was tired of fighting. "Fine, twice a month. But Marcus, I'm serious. I need actual help, not just carrying plates." He hugged me, relieved. "Thank you for being flexible. I knew you'd understand." And there it was again. His assumption that my flexibility was infinite, that understanding meant accepting less than I deserved. Saturday came and Marcus joined me at the grocery store for the first time in 2 years. He pushed the cart and complained about the prices, which gave me a grim satisfaction. At least now he could see what I'd been spending. Sunday morning, he actually got up early to help. He peeled potatoes while I seasoned the chicken. He set the table without being asked. For 2 glorious hours, I thought maybe we'd turned a corner. Then his family arrived. Linda swept in with her usual inspection tour of the kitchen. Devin brought 3 friends I'd never met, and Marcus disappeared to play host in the living room while I finished everything alone. During dinner, Linda announced she'd invited her entire book club to next week's meal. "They've heard so much about Sophia's cooking," she said, beaming. "I hope you don't mind, dear." Next week. The Sunday that was supposed to be my off week in our new twice-monthly arrangement. I opened my mouth, ready to explain the new schedule, but Marcus jumped in first. "Mom, actually we're doing dinners twice a month now. Next Sunday isn't a dinner week." The table went silent. Linda's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Twice a month?" she repeated slowly. "But Sunday dinner is our tradition." "Sophia's been overwhelmed with work," Marcus explained, "like I was the problem. We need to scale back." Linda turned to me, her expression cooling. I didn't realize cooking for family was such a burden. The word burden hit like a slap. 2 years of my life, $40,000, and it was a burden when I asked for 1 week off per month. "It's not about it being a burden," I started, but Linda cut me off. "When I was raising my boys, I cooked every single night. I never complained. I never made them feel like family time was too much work." "Linda, I'm not complaining," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I love having everyone here, but doing it every single week is a lot, and I have work deadlines that—" "Work?" Linda's laugh was sharp. "Honey, you work from home. That's not the same as having a real job with real demands." The table had gone from silent to awkwardly frozen. Devin was staring at his plate. Marcus was looking anywhere but at me. Graphic design is a real job, I said quietly. I have real clients with real deadlines and real consequences if I don't deliver quality work. I'm sure you do, dear, Linda said in that patronizing tone that made my teeth clench. But family comes first. That's what marriage means. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. As if I hadn't been sacrificing for 2 solid years while everyone else just showed up to eat. I stood up from the table. Excuse me. I need to check on dessert. In the kitchen, I braced myself against the counter and counted to 10, then 20. Behind me, I could hear Linda's voice carrying from the dining room. She's changed, Marcus. Marriage is about putting family first, not treating everything like a business transaction. I pulled the peach cobbler from the oven with shaking hands. I served it with ice cream. I smiled and accepted compliments. And when everyone finally left, I cleaned the kitchen in silence while Marcus tried to make conversation about the game. Your mom basically called me selfish, I said finally. Marcus sighed. She didn't mean it like that. She's just old-fashioned about gender roles. She called my career fake. She's from a different generation. You know how she is. I turned to face him. Do you think my work is real? Of course, he said immediately. Then added, but you do have more flexibility than most people. Flexibility. That word that meant my time could be bent, stretched, interrupted, and borrowed without anyone asking permission. I want Sunday dinners to end completely, I said. Marcus's eyes widened. Soph, come on. Don't let Mom get to you like this. I'm not letting her get to me. I'm recognizing that nobody in your family values my time or my contribution, and I'm done enabling that. You're overreacting. Am I? Your mother just insulted me in my own home, and you defended her. Your brother brings random people without asking. Everyone takes leftovers like I'm running a charity kitchen. When exactly was I supposed to stop overreacting and accept being disrespected? We fought for another hour. Marcus begged me to reconsider, said I was destroying his relationship with his family, said I was making a huge deal out of something small. But it wasn't small. It never had been. The next morning, I opened a separate checking account. I calculated my monthly contribution to shared expenses, rent, utilities, groceries for just us, insurance. I transferred that amount from my business account and left the rest separate. Then I drafted a document. I'd been a graphic designer long enough to make it look professional, official. It was titled Service Agreement for Family Hosting. The terms were simple. If Marcus wanted Sunday dinners to continue at our house, I would provide them under the following conditions. 1. He pays me $150 per dinner to cover groceries and my labor. 2. He handles all shopping or reimburses me immediately if I shop. 3. He commits to 4 hours of cooking help and complete cleanup. 4. Guest list is approved by both of us in advance. 5. Events are scheduled 1 month ahead minimum, respecting my work calendar. Violation of any term results in immediate termination of hosting. At the bottom, spaces for both our signatures and a date. I left it on the kitchen table before he woke up. Marcus found it over his morning coffee. I watched from my office doorway as he read it. His face went from confused to shocked to angry in about 30 seconds. "This is a joke, right?" he called out. I walked into the kitchen. Not even a little bit. "Sophia, you can't. This is my mother. My family. You're treating them like clients?" "No, Marcus. I'm treating myself like someone whose time has value. Your family has been my unpaid client for 2 years. I'm just making it official." He crumpled the paper. "This is insane. You're seriously asking me to pay you to cook for my own mother? I'm asking you to compensate me for labor you've been getting for free. If you don't want to pay, we rotate hosting or we stop entirely. Those are your options. Mom will never speak to you again if you do this." Then I guess she values free food more than her relationship with me. We stared at each other across the kitchen table, and I saw the exact moment Marcus realized I wasn't backing down. This wasn't negotiable. This wasn't me being dramatic. This was me drawing a line in the sand after 2 years of being treated like unpaid help. "I need time to think about this," he said finally. "Take all the time you need. But there's no Sunday dinner here unless we have an agreement." He left for work without kissing me goodbye. That weekend was the first Sunday in 2 years without family dinner. Linda called 3 times, increasingly frantic. "Where are you? Dinner's at 4, isn't it?" Marcus isn't answering his phone. Marcus finally called her back and explained, in vague terms, that we were taking a break from hosting. I heard her voice through the phone from across the room, shrill and incredulous. The calls kept coming. From Linda, from Devon, even from Marcus's aunt who'd started attending regularly. Everyone wanted to know what was wrong, why we were canceling tradition, didn't we care about family. Nobody asked if I was okay, if I needed help, if 2 years of hosting had been hard on me. They just wanted to know when their free meal service would resume. Monday evening, Marcus sat me down. "I talked to Mom," he said. "She's willing to rotate. 1 month at our place, 1 month at hers, 1 month at Devon's. And the costs? The labor?" She said she'd help cook. And Devon's girlfriend apparently does meal prep as a side business. She offered to help too. I studied his face. "Did you show her the numbers? The $40,000? He looked uncomfortable. "I mentioned you'd been tracking expenses. And she said, "That's what family does. You contribute without keeping score." Of course she did. People who benefit from uncompensated labor always say that. "Marcus, I need to know you understand. This isn't about money, it's about respect. It's about everyone in your family assuming my time is worthless because I work from home." "I get it," he said, but his tone suggested he didn't. "Not really." "Do you? Because 2 years ago I said yes to weekly dinners, and you turned it into a catering service. I expressed concerns, and you dismissed them. Your mother insulted my career, and you told me she didn't mean it. At what point do you actually stand up for me?" That hit home. I saw it in his eyes. The guilt. The realization that maybe he'd been protecting his mother's feelings at the expense of mine. "You're right," he said quietly. "I should have had your back. I should have seen how much you were doing and said something to Mom. I'm sorry." It was the first real apology I'd heard from him in months. "I don't want to come between you and your family," I said. "But I also can't keep sacrificing my peace of mind, my income, and my time to make other people comfortable. If we're going to make this work, things have to change." "They will," Marcus promised. "I'll talk to Mom, really talk to her, help her understand." I wanted to believe him, but I'd heard promises before. That Thursday, Marcus invited Linda to dinner. Just the 3 of us. I cooked ironically, and we sat down to what Marcus called a conversation about expectations. It went about as well as you'd expect. Linda arrived with her church smile on, the one that didn't reach her eyes. "Sophia, darling," Marcus said, "you wanted to talk." I let Marcus start. He explained in careful terms that Sunday dinners had become overwhelming for me, that we needed to establish some boundaries, share responsibilities, maybe cut back on frequency. Linda listened with increasing tension in her jaw. When he finished, she turned to me. "So this is all your idea?" "It's our idea," Marcus corrected. "Sophia's been doing all the work for 2 years. That's not sustainable. When I was a young wife, I considered it a privilege to cook for my husband's family. It was how I showed love. And I do love your family," I said evenly. "But Linda, I've spent over $40,000 and hundreds of hours hosting these dinners. I'm not asking to stop completely. I'm asking for help and respect." Linda's eyes narrowed. $40,000. "You've been keeping a tally of what you spend on us?" "I've been tracking my business expenses, yes, like any self-employed person does. Family isn't a business." "No, but it also isn't supposed to be one person giving everything while everyone else takes." The room temperature dropped about 20 degrees. Linda set down her fork. "I see. Well, if having us over is such a financial burden, perhaps we should just stop coming altogether." She was trying to guilt me, to make me feel like I was destroying family bonds by asking for basic fairness. "That's not what we're saying," Marcus interjected. "Mom, we want you here. We just need to find a balance that works for everyone." "Apparently what works for everyone is making your mother feel like a burden." Linda's voice cracked, and I saw genuine hurt beneath the anger. "I thought we were building something. I thought Sophia enjoyed having us." And here was the complicated truth. I had enjoyed it. At first. Before it became obligatory. Before my enjoyment didn't matter, only my performance. "I did enjoy it," I said softly. "But Linda, you have to understand. Every week, I spend an entire day cooking and cleaning. Nobody asks if I have work deadlines or if I'm tired. Your church friends were invited without anyone asking me. When I tried to cut back to twice a month, I was called selfish. That's not fair. Linda's eyes were shiny now. I didn't realize you felt that way. Because nobody asked. Silence stretched between us. Marcus looked miserable, caught between the two most important women in his life, finally saying what needed to be said. I don't want to stop having dinners, Linda said finally, but I can't afford to pay for them, if that's what you're asking. I'm not asking you to pay, I clarified. I'm asking for one of three things. We share the work and costs, or we rotate houses, or we reduce frequency to once a month. Any of those would help. Linda considered this. I suppose we could try rotating. My apartment is small, but I could manage. And maybe sometimes we just go out to eat, Marcus suggested. Take the pressure off everyone? Linda looked like he'd suggested we abandon her on a desert island, but she nodded slowly. I suppose that could work. It wasn't a perfect resolution. Linda still thought I was being unreasonable. Marcus still didn't fully grasp how exhausting 2 years of unacknowledged labor had been. But it was something. A start. The next Sunday, we met at a local restaurant. Everyone paid for themselves. Linda was stiff at first, the conversation awkward. But gradually, without the stress of hosting hanging over me, I actually enjoyed the meal, enjoyed the company. The Sunday after that, Linda hosted at her apartment. She made spaghetti and salad, simple but good. Marcus and I brought wine and dessert. Devin and his girlfriend brought bread. It was smaller, more intimate. Nobody left with Tupperware containers of leftovers. And I realized something. When I wasn't exhausted from hosting, I actually liked spending time with Marcus's family. The third Sunday, we were back at our place. But this time, Marcus got up at 9 with me. He chopped vegetables while I seasoned the meat. He set the table and poured drinks when people arrived. During cleanup, he loaded the dishwasher while I washed pots, working side by side. It still wasn't perfect. Linda still made little comments about back when I hosted every week without complaining. Marcus's brother still brought uninvited guests occasionally, but the burden was shared now. Acknowledged. More importantly, my time was finally being treated as valuable. 3 months into our new arrangement, Linda brought up the old dinners. We were having coffee, just us, which never happened before. I understand why you got upset, she said abruptly. About the dinners, I was taking advantage. I nearly dropped my mug. Linda, admitting fault? I didn't see it that way at the time, she continued. I just thought, here's a wonderful woman who loves to cook, who has flexibility in her schedule. I didn't think about what it was costing you. Not just money, but time, energy. Thank you for saying that, I managed. I'm old-fashioned, she admitted. I was raised to believe a wife's job was taking care of everyone. But that's not fair, is it? You have your own career, your own dreams. I was treating you like you existed just to make my son's life easier. This conversation was surreal, validating, healing in a way I didn't expect. I did enjoy having everyone over, I told her honestly. I just needed it to be sustainable, to feel appreciated. You were appreciated, Linda said firmly. I just did a terrible job of showing it, and I'm sorry. We hugged, and something shifted between us. We weren't just daughter-in-law and mother-in-law anymore. We were two women who'd finally been honest with each other. That evening, I updated my spreadsheet one last time. I added up the new costs over 3 months, 6 dinners, rotating houses, shared expenses. My personal contribution had dropped from $960 per month to less than $200. My free time had increased by at least 30 hours per month. Hours I'd spent taking on new clients, growing my business. My income had actually increased since setting boundaries, since protecting my time. But the real change wasn't in the numbers. It was in how I felt, valued, respected, like my labor mattered. Marcus came up behind me and looked at the laptop screen. Still tracking? Just curious about the difference, I said. He kissed the top of my head. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. What you were doing for us, for my family. You see it now. That's what matters. I've been thinking, he said slowly, about that service agreement you drafted. The one I crumpled up. I turned to face him. What about it? You were right to make it. Maybe not the specifics, but the principle. Your time has value. Your work has value. I was treating both like they were free because they were convenient for me. Marcus. No, let me finish. I love you, and part of loving someone is respecting what they contribute, even when it's not obvious. Especially when it's not obvious. You weren't being selfish, you were being fair, and I'm going to do better at recognizing that. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. He pulled me into a hug, and I let myself lean into it. This was what I'd been fighting for, not just fair division of labor or financial recognition, but this, being seen, being heard, being valued for all I contributed to our life together. Sunday dinners continued, but they were different now. Better. Sometimes we hosted, sometimes Linda did, sometimes we met at a restaurant. Everyone contributed. Everyone helped clean up. And when Linda's church friends asked why we'd ended the tradition of weekly family dinners, she surprised me by saying, "We didn't end it. We made it sustainable." My daughter-in-law was doing everything, and I finally woke up to how unfair that was. Now we all do our part. My daughter-in-law. Not just Marcus's wife or Sophia who cooks. She'd started introducing me as a graphic designer, asking about my work, even recommending me to friends who needed branding help. I still remember the moment I knew things had truly changed. It was a Sunday at our house, 4 months after the confrontation. I was in the kitchen putting the finishing touches on a pot of gumbo when Linda came in with Devin's girlfriend, both wearing aprons. "Put us to work," Linda said. "What needs doing?" I stared at them. Then I laughed, a real laugh that came from somewhere deep and relieved. "Can you two do the cornbread? Recipes on the counter." They did. And it was perfect. The three of us worked together, chopping and stirring and laughing. Marcus came in to help set the table without being asked. Devin poured drinks. Everyone contributed to making the meal happen. During dinner, Marcus's uncle made a toast. "To family," he said, raising his glass, "and to Sophia, who puts up with all of us." "To Sophia," Linda corrected, "who finally made us put in effort instead of just showing up. This family is better because she set boundaries." Everyone drank to that, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years, like I belonged in Marcus's family, not as unpaid labor, not as an accessory to his life, but as a valued member in my own right. That night, after everyone left and the kitchen was clean, Marcus found me on the back porch with a glass of wine, looking at the stars. "Happy?" he asked, settling beside me. "Yeah," I said, and meant it. It took a while to get here, but yeah, I'm happy. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly, "for standing up for yourself, for not letting us take advantage anymore. You could have just kept going, kept resenting us silently, but you didn't. You demanded better." "I demanded what I deserved," I corrected. "There's a difference." "There is," he agreed. "And you deserved it all along. I'm just sorry it took me so long to see it." We sat in comfortable silence, fingers intertwined. The story could have ended differently. I could have kept giving and giving until there was nothing left of me, or I could have exploded, burned every bridge, destroyed every relationship. Instead, I'd done something harder. I'd set boundaries with love. I'd demanded respect without being cruel. I'd shown Marcus and his family that I had value, and they'd finally listened. Did you like this story? Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't cruelty, it's simply refusing to accept less than you deserve. If you've ever had to fight for basic respect in your own home, drop a comment below. And remember, setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish, it makes you someone who knows their worth.